Welcome to the Year 11 Key to Success evening. This is our virtual event this year as we've been unable to hold our traditional event at the school. Thank you for tuning in to watch, and I hope that you find the presentation useful. My name is Davies and I'm Assistant Principal for Key Stage 4. Just going to run through the aims of our presentation for you. I'm going to give you a timeline lead about your child's experience between now and mock exams, and then how we follow up those mock exams for them. A few updates on some of the changes that have been made to GCSEs, both things that have happened over the past few years, but also some of the more recent changes due to the COVID pandemic. Some practical strategies for successful revision, some discussion around well-being and how to support your child thoroughly through what can be a very stressful time in their lives. Parenting is very challenging and something that we appreciate. Parents often ask us for help. How do I support my child at this really difficult time? Lots of stress, lots of anxiety at home. How can I best support them with their education? Some key dates for you to be aware of. Thursday the 18th of November is our diaried consultation day. At the moment, we are just trying to figure out how we are going to run this virtually, and there will be more details sent through. This information will be their tracking point and will be based on the recent assessments that Year 11 have done, along with the work that they covered in Year 10 whilst in school and over lockdown. But it will give you a good indication of where your child currently is at. The mock exams begin on Thursday the 19th of November. And they run for a week and 2 days, finishing on Friday the 27th of November. Please bear in mind that the 19th and 20th are school inset days, so no other students will be in school aside from Year 11s who are sitting their mock exams. Please make sure you're aware that if your child catches the school bus, the bus will not be running on those 2 days, so you'll need to figure out transport logistics. Year 11 will be on study leave during their mock exam period, so they will only be required to be in school when they have an exam. We will have some study areas for them to use if they're unable to leave the site in between their exams. We hold our annual mock results morning every year where we simulate the children receiving their final examination results in an envelope, and this will be on Wednesday the 16th of December. Your child will experience receiving an envelope, as I say, opening that, and they will see all of their mock exam results together on one sheet of paper. We feel that this is a really high impact event. And then in the evening, we usually run our subject consultation evening, whereby you are able to talk to the different subject teachers about your child's mock exams. Again, we are at the moment figuring out how we will run this virtually, but details for this are to be confirmed. So what are the implications of the COVID pandemic for your child's GCSEs? The government have announced that GCSE exams will be shifted back by 3 weeks. However, there will be one English and one maths exam week beginning the 24th of May. Further updates we are expecting over this next few months, and we will update you as soon as we possibly can. Some of the content changes in the different subjects are detailed there on the screen. There were no changes provided for maths or English language. However, there were some changes to literature texts that the children need to study, and they have reduced content in some courses, in particular history and English literature. There is some practical flexibility now with things like science, the experiments that they needed to do, subjects like PE and drama, and children are being informed of this by their subject teachers. Some changes to GCSEs for you to be aware of if this is your first child through GCSEs, or perhaps you have an older child that hasn't been through the system for some years. We've moved away now, and it has been like this for a number of years now. We've moved away from the letter gradings of A star, A, B, C, etc. to a banding system rated from 1 through to 9, 9 being the highest. The equivalent of a C grade, the old pass, particularly in maths and English, that are crucial moving forward. 4 is considered a standard pass, and a band 5 a strong pass. The other major changes is that they've removed coursework in many subject areas, and therefore the children have a lot of information to remember, to revise and to recall in their exams. There really is now an increased importance on effective revision to be able to retain the information, recall the information and apply it appropriately to their exam questions. Lots and lots of past paper practice is absolutely vital to achieve success. We really are stressing to our students that grade quality matters, and it's important not to just settle. Students should be striving to achieve the best grades that they possibly can, particularly with this current climate now, where we know that there is lots of turbulence, I guess, in the employment market. Students at this school do achieve bands 8 and 9, and we encourage our students to aim high at all times. Some of the subject things to be aware of in terms of maths, English and science. Higher tier paper, you can achieve between a band 4 and a band 9. If a student doesn't get sufficient marks to gain a band 4, they will get an ungraded classification. Foundation tier, you can achieve up to a band 5 on that particular paper. Students must be performing well day in, day out at school and in all of their mock examinations to allow the maths department to decide which tier of entry they are best suited to. There are 3 maths exams in total, totaling 4.5 hours. There's a lot more emphasis now on problem solving, understanding what the question is asking, and the department do lots and lots of work on that with the children to prepare them. They will require a scientific calculator if they don't already have one. English. There no longer are tiers of entry. All students are entered for the same level of exam. There is no longer any coursework in English that takes place. There are a number of very lengthy exams in English, and it's vital that your children are ready to sit in an exam that lasts 2.5 hours. So they've made sure that they've had breakfast, they're well fueled, they've had sufficient sleep, because that is a long time to concentrate for. Please ensure that your child has the appropriate literature texts and revision guides that they need for their English exams. Science. There is a lot to cover. Whether your child does combined science, so that's the double, or they do the separate sciences, the separate physics, chemistry and biology, there is a lot of information for them to remember. Science will require a lot of time set aside for revision. Very stressful, as I'm sure you can imagine, and I've only run over there 3 of your child's subjects. So how can you help as a parent? I guess the most practical thing that you can do is ensure that your child has a quiet place to study at home, at a desk. It's very clear that sitting on a bed trying to revise is not effective. So please, if you could make sure your child has somewhere quiet at a desk where they can study, and that they have all of the practical resources that they need to support them. This will include revision guides, highlighter pens, post-it notes, etc. So what doesn't work with revision? We find that many young people spend hours and hours revising only to feel that it didn't work and it wasn't successful. Just highlighting lots and lots of text is not effective. It's a part of a process, but just doing that alone will not ensure that the information has gone into their memory. Just reading things does not work. Again, it doesn't lead to that deeper level of memory. And aimless web surfing, reading things on the web, again, on its own is not going to be sufficient. It's really important that the children work through a process of transferring the information from one form to another. We find that most children prefer to use the revision cards or the flashcards, as you can see on the screen right now. Some children do like to work from mind maps, and they would be on larger A3 paper and potentially slightly more visual. But we do find that most of our children prefer the flashcard method. So what makes an effective flashcard? The one that you can see on the screen now, whilst that looks great, there actually is too much information on that card, and it will be difficult for the child to learn that effectively. Research suggests it is actually better to have less information on each card. So the example on the screen there, name 2 types of joint, would be on one side of the card, and then you would turn that over and there are 2 answers there. It's also effective where possible to use diagrams. Again, that supports the memory. So we would suggest that your child should have lots and lots of flashcards. Okay, there never will be too many. And if you could help them organise those, then that would be really great. Lots of students choose to use different colours for different subjects. When your child is revising with their flashcards, they should say the answer out loud. Again, this helps with memory. They should also practice from both sides of the card. Test themselves with the question, the answers, then do it the other way round and see if they can recite the question. They should ask you for help. Can you test me? Can you take this pile of cards and can you test me? If you could actively involve yourself in that process, your child will feel supported and feel like you really are interested in what they are learning. The questions and the answers that they get wrong, put those in a separate pile so they can really hone it down to what are the things I don't know, what are the things I need to go back over. So create right and wrong piles, and please return to these very regularly. The reason we say return to these very regularly is because we forget information very, very quickly. The graph on the screen shows you this, that 80% of what we learn is lost very, very quickly if we don't go over it. If we can do these frequent reminders, frequent rereading of our revision cards and our revision resources, it helps to ensure that that information is retained in our memory. Once you feel that your child has learnt this information and they're able to recite the content quite fluently, the next stage is absolutely vital, and one which many don't do. It's vital that they check that they can apply that content and that information appropriately to exam questions. Please look for past papers. Make sure it's the right exam board and as recent as you possibly can. Also check the mark schemes. Again, this is a vital part of the revision process that many overlook. Get them to have a go at a past paper, print off the mark scheme, and then actually have a look. Would they have secured the marks for the answers that they've given? If not, why not? What is the exam board looking for? It's then important that they go back through that paper, maybe using a different colour pen, and correct any of the mistakes that they've made. This part of the revision process is absolutely critical. So mock exams, they are coming up quite quickly, and lots of children say, oh, why are you doing this? It's very stressful. We do it for many, many reasons. We are going to hold the mocks in the exam hall so the students get that experience of being in that exam hall, and it's not so frightening when we come to do it in the summer. This year group missed out on their Year 10 exam week due to the pandemic, so it's really, really key that they get to experience how these exams actually work. It's a chance for them to revisit all of the material and all of the content that they've already learnt in Year 10 and memorise such huge amounts of content from very, very large courses. It's a huge opportunity for us to provide feedback to them about the things that they know, but the things that they don't know, or maybe mistakes that they are making with their application in the exam. Mock exams are a part of a much longer journey, but a really, really important part. So when you're preparing, some of the things to think about, divide revision up into smaller chunks, break down each course into units to make it manageable for your child, and you can help them to do this. Help them to write a plan for their revision, which factors in social time, but also, make sure that there is sufficient time for them to get through all of the revision that they've got to do. Use half term wisely. We want students to relax, we want them to rest. We do appreciate that there is a lot going on at the moment, but it is also important that they don't just put their feet up for the whole week and return after half term having done no revision. Some of the key messages for parents, and I know this is tough at times, but make sure that you have sensible boundaries for technology. Students are up 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning on their phones, and this really is not healthy for them. Social media is great in many ways, but it's also, as I'm sure we all know, it can be quite unhealthy at times. So sensible boundaries for technology. Please ensure they're getting sufficient amount of sleep, they're exercising, and that their diet is sufficient and is nutritious in order to prepare them to sit through some very, very lengthy exams. If your child is not a breakfast eater, please could you try to find something that they will eat in the morning, so that when they have their mock exams in the morning, they are fueled and ready to go, and they can maintain their concentration throughout the exam period. And encourage your child to have interests out of school and time away from their studies. So I mentioned creating a revision plan. There's an example on the screen there in front of you. It doesn't need to be as pretty as this. It doesn't need to take forever to do, but just breaking everything down for them so that they get what they can see, the time when they're going to be out with their friends, the time when they're just going to be chilling out and not doing any revision. But we've also got some structure to their week so they can see when they need to be revising. Mocks are also there to experience the complexities of having multiple exams in one day. It is challenging for a young person to have 2 exams or even 3 exams in one day, and we recognise that, but we are trying to simulate how this may be for them in the summer. The mocks allow them to make mistakes in a safe way. These results, whilst important, are not their final GCSE results. It allows them to understand where they're losing marks and why. It allows them to be under the pressure of timed conditions, which many of them need to experience to understand and be able to get that right for the summer. I've mentioned feedback already. It's absolutely critical that they can see where they did well and where they made mistakes and where they lost marks. As a parent, I think the key message is for you to be there to support and reassure them. And if your child has spent a lot of time revising and is disappointed with their mock results, reassure them. Reassure them that the work that they've done will have benefited them, and that it's just going back through and correcting maybe some minor errors here and there. Some key things to think about in terms of your child being successful. Attendance is absolutely key. At the moment, Year 11 attendance is a concern to me. Every day missed is 5 hours of learning and course content, and with all the best will in the world, that is a very unlikely to be caught up. I appreciate times are difficult at the moment, but your child really, really does need to be in school every day unless there is an exceptional circumstance. Not being in school adds to the pressure that they will feel. After half term, we will be starting our formal Session 6 programme. The focus next term will be on the more creative subjects such as art, textiles, things like ICT, computer science, business studies, PE, and an opportunity for students to really get ahead in those subjects. There will be something running every night that your child can attend, and the programme for that has been given to your child and is also attached to my original email. Please encourage your child to stay to Session 6. It is a highly, highly beneficial intervention that supports our young people. We really do encourage Year 11 to be there. After Christmas, the priority will change to the core subjects, maths, English, science, and either history or geography. And again, we would encourage Year 11 to take up these opportunities. One other piece of information for parents is to start thinking about what is your child going to do at the end of Year 11. Some of them are finding this very stressful at the moment, the intensity of school and Year 11, and it's important that they have a light at the end of the tunnel and they can see what they are aiming for. So please encourage that support and that research. There's a lot of work going on here at the moment, preparing for sixth form and showing them how fantastic the sixth form is. But some children may prefer to be looking at courses at college or apprenticeships. So please do spend some time with your child looking at the options that are available to them. Your child will never have no homework and nothing to do. I'm sure they won't be happy for me to say that to you, but if you ask them if they've got any schoolwork to do and they say no, nothing has been set, then please check that on Show My Homework initially. And if they are telling the truth, then please encourage them to do some additional revision. Every bit of revision they can do will support and will help them. And please support them with this by accessing the past papers, as I've already mentioned, and making sure that they've got all of the resources that they need. I've mentioned this a few times, and I think it's important to be honest about this, that this next year will be challenging. Children will feel stressed and anxious, as will you as parents, because we all want what's best for our children. But lots of reassurance and lots of praise is the key. If your child is doing absolutely no work and you're concerned about them, then of course it might be that you need to give some tough love at times. But lots and lots of praise, lots of support, we find is really, really key. And finally, please do maintain your communication with the school. There's lots of people here to help you, primarily the Year 11 pastoral team, along with your child's tutor. So Mr. Hancock's head of Year 11, Miss Prince, pastoral support assistant, Mrs. Davies is myself, and I'm here to support with any particular learning queries that you may have. And Mrs. Mills is our Senko for LPA. Again, if you feel you need to talk to her, then please do so. I hope that you found the presentation useful. Thank you again for watching, and please do maintain your communication with the school. Take care.